A gritty win for the St. Louis Cardinals on a rainy Tuesday night in Baltimore. And by the looks of it, you guys are ready to talk about it here on Sports Hub STL. All of our content brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. The crown is yours. And of course, Cards Hub Postgame brought to you by Hot Shots Bar and Grill, home of St. Louis sports fans since 1990. All the games, all the time at Hot Shots. Joe Roderick, Ethan Hannaford with you here on this evening's program. And Ethan, it was a game. I will tell you this. So if you are locked into all of the Sports Hub content, you saw that we already did an hour-long instant reaction show tonight on Olaf Melberg being fired by City. And I'm sitting there, trying to get all the pieces in place for that. And the Cardinals are up 3-0. I was like, all right, they're going to get through this. It'll be good. Next thing I know, I look at the TV and it's 4-3, and I'm thinking, what the just happened here? But they fought back and they won. And when I opened up and I said a gritty game, gritty, ugly, however you want to describe it, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we've mentioned it in 2025. This team is different than it was last year. This is a game last year that this team does not win, where it doesn't look pretty. There's multiple moments that you can look back on and say, yep, that's the moment that got them, or that's the moment that did them in. And there was plenty of those moments tonight. But the Cardinals continue to play resilient baseball. It's consistent, regardless of the quality that is being shown on the field. The mindset is consistent, and that is the sign of a mature ball club, which is extremely impressive when you look at how young this team is. I love this comment here from Wesley saying, way to flush it, carry the momentum into the rubber match. They flushed yesterday's outing, which wasn't a pretty one. It was one of the handful of duds that they've played this year. And after a good start early going of this one, they still left some opportunities out there. The Orioles respond. They put a couple of runs on the board. All of a sudden, you're saying, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?" And but they fought back. And that's the kind of Cardinals team that we have seen in large part here the past. It's funny. At one point, we were saying, "Oh man, it's been the play of the past week and a half," and then it was 2 weeks, and then it was 3 weeks, and now we're probably close to 5 weeks of this high quality baseball that we've seen. We're definitely over 4 weeks of it. That's exciting. It's exciting to see the Cardinals playing like this, fighting like this, and despite not necessarily having their best stuff, finding ways to win. And one last thing before I give it back to you here, we talk about not having their best stuff. They had 14 hits tonight. Yeah. 14 hits tonight on a night that we're talking about they didn't necessarily have their best stuff. That tells you where the expectations are, what the quality of play right now is for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, you saw, if you watched the game on TV tonight, you saw the weather out there. You saw how miserable it seemed to be out there tonight. Brendan Donovan sitting out this tonight's game, a late scratch from the game, and probably, I would say, not, precautionary reasons, but I would say weather probably might have played a little bit into that too. But Nolan Arenado back in the lineup, so you get him in a big way late in the game. I think, as you mentioned, we're going on several weeks right now of this team overperforming expectations from what we talked about in February and March that we thought this team might be. Okay, at a certain point, it becomes it's no longer a fluke. It becomes a trend, and they are who they are who they are.
Right.
This is right now. This is a playoff caliber team.
Yeah.
In the era of the wild card round, where 6 teams from each league make the playoffs, right now at the end of May, at the end of 2 full months of baseball, this is a playoff caliber team that you can look at and you could say it's going to match up against a few other of those. I mean, again, the pitching is there. The middle of that offense is there. The defense is head and shoulders above anybody else's defense in all of baseball. This is a playoff team, and we are watching them on a playoff run, and it's time to start looking at what else they can add on to improve themselves down the stretch for the final 4 months of the season.
No, that's where things are going to start getting interesting, no doubt.
Yeah.
About it. And if and if 4 or 5 weeks of this play hasn't proven it to you yet, then they're going to get plenty more opportunity. I got my opening day handy here. I'm looking at our upcoming schedule.
Give me a Douglas schedule reading right here. You're too young to know who Douglas is, but hopefully people in the chat do. Okay. Hopefully people in the chat appreciate that reference, but you're too young for it. Yeah.
We got Texas, who's kind of they've been slumping a little bit as of late, but then you got more tough competition in June to start things off. You got 3 at home against the Royals, and then you got a big 3-game series the first weekend of June against the Dodgers. So there's going to be more opportunities to prove yourself to the fan base if you're not quite convinced yet. They got Toronto, and then they head back out on the road, and they got Milwaukee. Later in the month, they got the Cubs in a 4-game series. They got Cleveland. So there's gonna be plenty more opportunity if you're not convinced. I mean, you want one to really keep an eye on. It's gonna be that Dodgers series the first weekend in June. But right now, the Cardinals continue to play at a high level of baseball. And if they haven't yet, then my question is, what more do you need to see from them that they haven't proven that they are showing that this is the caliber, that it's long enough to where it's not just a brief stretch run, that this is turning into who they are? That's the question then to the fans that aren't convinced yet.
Let me address that because I see 2 different things in the chat. I'm going to throw them both up here on the screen. The first one from Joseph saying, play the Cubs first before deciding what we have. And then Nick, who is usually I don't know how to describe the comments that Nick usually throws into the chat, but it's usually just sky is falling, Cardinals worst team in baseball type of crap that he usually puts out there. But I'll throw his comment up here on the screen saying the Cubs are likely going to be pretty difficult to catch. Okay, it doesn't matter. Catching the Cubs doesn't matter. Playing them here in a few weeks, again, why are we waiting till then? Why are we saying we have to wait till then to do it? You've already won the season series over the Phillies. You already you got swept by the Mets. You turned right back around and you took a series from them. You just swept the Diamondbacks, who are behind you right now in the wild card race. You have played good teams during the season. They what did they take 2 or 3 from the Royals, who are right there in the American League? 2 out of 3 from the Royals, who are in the American League race. You have played good teams this year. You have played top caliber teams already this year on this. It hasn't been all Rockies and White Sox as the season has started. So you've gone out there and you have beaten good teams and you have held your own against good teams. And all of the issues that we talked about that first month of the season about the road woes, they seem to be long gone now.
Oh yeah. That's the road woes were they a freakish thing the first few weeks of the season? Absolutely they were, but it was baseball being weird. That's what it was. So I mean, they've clearly figured that out. As far as the Cubs go, you just said it perfectly. The Cardinals have beaten teams that are at the caliber or even higher a caliber than the Chicago Cubs are. Now that doesn't mean that series isn't going to be extremely important. Up to that point, it may end up being the most important 4 games of the season that you will have played. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait until then to figure out what they are, what the Cardinals are. Regarding Bernie's video, I haven't had the opportunity to watch it yet, but boy, when I saw the headline, when I saw that release, got my notifications on for Sports Hub STL, do that if you don't already. I said, ooh, that's one that I need to watch because that's a very intriguing beat to me. I've been very, you know how I've been when it comes to the series, the standings, we're too early. Let's not look at it. Keep playing ball. But based off what the Cubs are doing has nothing to do with what the St. Louis Cardinals are. If the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, it doesn't mean that they're a bad team even necessarily. God, we're talking about this in May, for goodness sake. But the Cardinals' success is not based off if they make the playoffs this year. The Cardinals could very well be an 88 to 90 win team in 2025 and not make the playoffs. That's how many wins above what was expected from them. I still would call that a huge success for St. Louis. So the 2 biggest takeaways from that whole little rant there. One, you can figure out what this team is before having to wait another 4 freaking weeks till you play the Cubs for the first time. And two, just because the Cardinals don't make the playoffs this year doesn't mean that like you can't figure out what they are now. So those are my two comments on that. But go out and watch Bernie's video as well once we finish up here on the post game show.
Yeah, as I just continue, I'm just kind of scrolling through, some of the other standings and looking at some of this stuff. Like, it's not like the Cubs are running away from this right now. It's not like they're 5+ games ahead of the Cardinals at the moment. The Cardinals are holding their own right now with the Cubs in the standings, while the Cubs go out and play the Marlins and the Rockies and the White Sox here over the last 2 weeks. And I know that the Cubs' hardest part of their schedule is over with at the moment, but still, you're hanging in there with them. But I would really start looking at, if we're gonna play this game and we're gonna get closer to Flag Day and start looking at the overall standings and things, let's start staying up late and paying attention to those checking out the box scores first thing in the morning to see how the Giants are doing, to see how the Padres are doing, and see what's going on out west in some of this. Because again, if we're going to be, if we're going to be realistic about this, the Dodgers are going to go on a run here. The Dodgers are going to go off on a run, and they're going to end up with one of those two byes in the standings, the 1 or the 2 seed.
Likely, yes.
Yeah, you're probably not going, and the same thing goes for probably the Phillies too, or the Mets, that it doesn't matter how many wins you rack up or where you end up. You're going to be playing in one of those wild card series, I think. And that's just, again, why worry about the Cubs? If you're going to worry about the Cubs, you have to worry about all 5 other teams or whatever are in front of you too.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Cubs schedule here, guys. I mean, for all, and I'm not saying that the Cubs have gotten through a difficult part of the schedule, but June is not a cakewalk for Chicago. Now they have some series that should be very winnable. They have the Nationals, the Pirates. Those are the 2 cakewalk ones, but they have the Tigers on the road. They have the Phillies on the road. They host the Brewers. They host the Mariners. They have 4 at Busch Stadium, and then they're at Minute Maid Park against the Astros. So it's not like June is a cakewalk for Chicago. So I mean, like, this is all going to even out. But I will say this: I'm definitely looking forward to that series against the Cubs. But there's a lot of ball to be played before that. And man, I tell you what, the way the Cardinals got another one tomorrow that hopefully they can lock up a series win against Baltimore, and then you have 3 winnable games against Texas. So keep controlling what you can control before you get into a little bit more of a challenging homestand again. But there was a lot of things I thought the Cardinals did tonight that were that showed grit, determination, and I'm looking forward to diving into some of those.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Enough with the standing stuff. Let's talk about the game tonight. But first, I do want to remind everybody our post-game shows are brought to you by Hot Shots. And this Sunday, June 1st at 12 o'clock, they'll be having a parking lot party at the St. Charles location celebrating 35 years of Hot Shots. There's going to be taco eating contests. There's going to have bags, darts, all different kinds of games out there. The Clydesdales are going to be out there. STL City SC is going to have celebrity bartenders. One of those will not be their head coach, Olaf, because he was fired tonight. Louis Bushwhacker will also be out there as well. As you see there on the screen, darts at noon, bags at 2, and fun all afternoon out at Hot Shots, celebrating 35 years of Hot Shots here in St. Louis. This is going to be at the St. Charles location. Out at Hot Shots, all the games, all the time out there at Hot Shots Bar and Grill. Joe Roderick, Ethan Hannaford with you here on Cards Hub Postgame on Sports Hub STL. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Cardinals got off to a great start. For all of the talk yesterday that Brendan Schaefer and I were having, and I don't know if you saw the video that was posted today on Sports Hub STL, where I started calling for Ivan Herrera to be moved to leadoff, similar to Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber situations there. You just put your masher up on top and let him hit doubles for you. That's getting some nice reaction to it over on the old Twitter Twitter tweets if you go to Sports Hub STL right now. But if you, but again, it was all because of Lars Nootbaar and the way that he's kind of been performing lately, and kind of how his it's fallen off a little bit, striking out quite a bit, not walking as much, and he comes up big 2-run home run, puts him up 3-0 early in the game. So shut me up for a little bit in that one. Lars with a nice day at the plate. But Andre Palante, I think that's, maybe his performance tonight kind of gets lost in the shuffle of things. I know you and I and Stephen Carey were kind of texting about it during the game today. And I see here in the chat too, from Joseph saying, did Palante really think he was going to pitch to Henderson? He looks silly getting mad about being taken out. I don't know. Do you think that was, I feel like that was more of a case of emotions of, I didn't get through this, I should have gotten through this, more than him getting mad at Ollie.
Yes, I completely agree. I think that's exactly what it was. Whether it looks silly or not is one thing, but I do agree that I don't think that this was Ollie, are you kidding me? Why are you making this decision? I think it was this was not my best go about of it. And more so, I think probably the emotion getting let out there. And at times it was a frustrating start for Andre Palante. And you could also take it this way, Jeremy saying that he's competitive, he likes it. Overall, I think that I thought honestly that Andre Palante's start wasn't terrible. The biggest thing for me, right, is the walks. I mean, which kind of, I mean, that kind of do it to yourself with when it comes to the walks. But as far as the guy swinging the bat when he's throwing strikes, it looked pretty good. Now, I mean, that's, it's easy to say that, oh, well, when you throw strikes, but I mean, the walks hurt him, obviously, the 3-run home run, but the stuff was okay, I thought, for the most part. I mean, the large majority of the contact that he produced tonight was soft contact. 13 ground balls that were not hit hard, only 2 were. I think, let's see, he allowed 6 hits. 2 of them were infield singles. One of them was the home run. I guess he had the double that was let up. I mean, overall, there wasn't a lot of hard contact that was put off of him, but the walks are proof that, when you put guys on base, it hurts you. And it most definitely did in the inning when he let up the home run to Ryan O'Hearn. Infield single, a walk, and then the 3-run bomb. That was his biggest mistake of the night, was the home run pitch. It was a fastball that he left right down the middle, and that was smoked to right center field. But overall, I thought the stuff was okay. You could tell that he was having a little bit of trouble with the breaking stuff, was bouncing a lot of it throughout his outing tonight. Perhaps that had something to do with the rain, with the conditions, didn't get the best grip on it, perhaps. Threw more fastballs than he usually does as a result. Normally he's right around 50%. He was pushing 60 tonight. So maybe that has something to do with it. You don't like seeing the walks from Andre Palante. That's kind of been a consistent thing for him this year that I feel like we've talked about. Similar story with Eric Fetty. But overall, I thought the stuff wasn't bad from him tonight. It was a difficult situation, difficult, should I say, conditions with the weather. And I thought that he was okay. I think that's the best way to put it. If anything, I want to talk about Steven Matz and what he did, because the game had just this chaotic feeling, right? The Cardinals, it felt like early in the game, had opportunities, especially in the first inning, where they only score one run. They leave the bases loaded with just 1 out. Had a couple of chances early. They obviously the Nootbaar home run, but then Palante's not necessarily his best. You lose the lead. Steven Matz comes in, and it felt like it just completely neutralized everything. It felt like the game finally had a beat to it. And I felt like he was the calming presence that the pitching needed to kind of get things back on track. Let the hitting kind of get going. We know that this Baltimore bullpen is atrocious, has been atrocious all season long. You let the offense get back into it, which they did tonight, and all of a sudden the rest is history. But Steven Matz, I felt like, was that piece for the Cardinals that was able to kind of neutralize things, slow things down, get a little bit of a pace in the game that you liked for yourself. So I loved what Steven Matz did tonight, and I've loved what he's done all year.
He's starting to more and more, I think, remind me of, you remember, around 2016, 2017, Andrew Miller. When Andrew Miller was with Cleveland back then,
Mhm.
and was just such a big time arm for them in the postseason when they made the World Series against the Cubs, and wasn't a closer, wasn't a starter. He was a guy that would come in there for multiple innings at a time. And if you go through and you kind of look at his game log from that 2017 season, just over and over again came into big spots and was that middle of the game type of guy that was a huge part of that bullpen, and ended up resulting in the Cardinals giving him a contract, kind of bringing him over, and it was towards the end of his career and kind of lost it there at the end. But Steven Matz has taken on this role this year and has thrived at it. It has been really fun to watch. I like the way you described it, kind of in a game where it's a little chaotic. He comes in there and it's like, okay, hey, it's Steven Matz time. He's going to get you to those end of the line bullpen guys, and he's going to kind of reset it all.
Yeah, and that's what he did tonight. I think the Andrew Miller comp is interesting because we haven't seen Matz necessarily get used in that high of leverage, but I mean, it doesn't get much higher of leverage than the spots that Andrew Miller was pitching in later in the season. It would be interesting to see if eventually he could end up getting to that point if the Cardinals continue having success. But I mean, overall, I mean, props to Matz. Jeremy said it right there. I mean, the what he's been able to do this year, he stepped up time in and time out. And this is kind of an interesting one as well. And there was some, I think Bernie tweeted about this earlier, even at, saying, why have Palante when you can have Michael McGrevy? And we get a comment here saying a similar thing. Palante almost blew this game. I'm waiting for McGrevy to replace him in the rotation. What are your thoughts on this? I'm not sure if I'm quite sold on if there's going to be one to go that it's Andre Palante yet. But maybe I'm thinking of it more from a long-term standpoint than I am a short-term right now. I know that it hasn't been the most consistent, pure stuff from Andre Palante, but I personally am still a believer in his stuff and think that, he can get the job done and continue to figure it out. We've definitely seen the potential of what it can be. And we know that the sinker ball plays and this defense is set up perfectly for it. But I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, Joe.
You can't expect to have a deep run in the playoffs without having Michael McGrevy be a big part of this pitching staff.
Really?
That's kind of how I look at it right now. If you want to go win 1, win 2 rounds in the postseason, if you think that you have a good enough team to do that, Michael McGrevy proved in spring training that he is the best pitcher on your staff. Michael McGrevy came in to the one spot start, or the one, I guess not spot start, but the one appearance that he had this year, and absolutely shut down the Mets. Michael McGrevy has shown time and time again at the end of last year and throughout this year that he's ready for the big leagues. There's just not a spot in the rotation for him. I believe that right now the best thing to do, the best way to get him in there, and it doesn't have to be this week or even in the next 2-3 weeks. What needs to happen is, I think you make room for him by trading Fedde away to a team like, maybe it's the Tigers, who just had to use 2 bullpen starts last week in St. Louis and might need a starter, and you get somebody a year or 2 away, but you're trading away Fedde to acquire Michael McGrevy in your starting rotation, because I think he has value. And I think you are still a plus in what you are losing in Fedde and what you're gaining in Michael McGrevy if you were to replace him. Now, if Palante is the way you go, if you say that, hey, he's going to take your spot in the rotation, I don't know what you do at Palante then. Does he go down to Memphis and starts? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen there. Do you just have to cut ties with him then? I mean, do you just have to trade him away
Makes zero sense to do any of those things. Makes zero sense, in my opinion, to do anything regarding that with Palante. I agree. I actually agree verbatim regarding Michael McGrevy. I don't think we're going to see him until closer to the trade deadline. I don't know, unless there's an injury, which there very well could be. But I don't think we're going to see him until the trade deadline, unless it's for a spot start here and there. You got weather that's become an issue, and you're in the middle of a long stretch of games, and that could be coming up here. But off the top of my head, I don't see one. Oh no, there's one coming up here. There's a couple of long stretches here in June. Oh boy, June's going to be a freaking gauntlet. Holy cow. I'm looking right now. Let's see. They play from June 3rd to June 15th, and then they have an off day on the 16th, and then they play from June 17th to July 2nd. So a couple of really long stretches in June. So maybe we see the 6-man rotation maybe we see that happen again, or we see a spot start from a guy like McGrevy in June. So I retract my statement on not seeing him till the deadline after looking at the gauntlet that is June baseball for the Cardinals. Hey, let me just say this. I would rather the Cardinals bring McGrevy up and use him as a spot starter than I would them bring Matz out of the bullpen and have him start a game, because he's just proven way too important to this bullpen to take him out of that role. Am I confident that he could have success as a starter if they needed him to, Steven Matz? Yes, but I'm saying that the role that he has played with the bullpen has been far too valuable for them to take him out. All of a sudden, he's unavailable for 4 games. You can't do it at this point. So, and it looks like in the chat we're seeing some people mention. Oh, it looks like it was mentioned on Gas House Gang today that he may.
Sorry, we both put it up at the same time.
He may be considering it. So I appreciate the chat contributing there, Samuel. You're the man.
Yeah. And that's what I know too. I know Bernie's on Gas House Gang on Tuesdays, so I would imagine Bernie will have some comments about that in his video tomorrow, maybe. So we will we'll have to check that out when that goes live around noon on Sports Hub STL tomorrow. So yeah, check be on the lookout for any comments by Bernie, who has the ear of Ollie and is able to talk to him on Gas House Gang on Tuesdays. So that'll be an interesting one to listen to. Yeah. Late in the game tonight, it was a lot of fun as the Cardinals fought back with Victor Scott II getting that walk and then showing off the speed, going first to third the way he did. No clue what Newbar was thinking or what Stubby Clapp was seeing at first base. I don't know if that was a Stubby call or if that was Newt going on his own, but he was thrown out by at least 15 feet at second base in that. But Mason Wynn comes up huge with the single there to tie the game. And then Nolan Arenado homers. And somebody had commented earlier. Let me scroll back and see if I can find this, because this is something that I feel like, Stats Inc. would have something like that for. If there has ever been a home run triple in 3 consecutive at bats in baseball history, I don't know if that's ever happened. Stats Inc. has got to have that. That's something that hopefully somebody can find out for us, because maybe Sarah Langs can have a stat like that. That seems like something that she would go and dig up if you follow her on Twitter. But that was, the entire night, Chip and Brad talking nonstop about the bird bath in left center field, and then Nolan Arenado puts one right into the bird bath.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was pretty awesome, because Nolan Arenado, I mean, this guy, what he has done this year, I mean, not that I didn't respect Nolan Arenado before, though. Let me get that straight. But what he has done this year, he has earned so much respect in my book for I mean, we all knew how much of a freak he was when it came to the amount of time and work that he put in. But the way he's having to do it this year, because it's not coming as naturally as it used to, he's not in the prime offensively anymore. At least it's looking like it, unfortunately. But for him to step up and to do what he's been doing at times. He's batting like 160 in his last 7 games. It's like 200 over the last 20 or so. I mean, it's been rough at times, but and I posted something earlier after the home run about, he continues to step up in the moments when it counts. And someone commented and said, like, it's been a forgettable stretch for him, yet we're always talking about the big moment. And it's because he's, it feels like over the past handful of games, he has multiple times stepped up in the big moment when you've needed him to, whether it be offensively or defensively. And, he every day, even with a 240 batting average and an OPS that is under 700, he continues to prove his worth and his value on this Cardinals club, going a long way. So for him to be able to do what he did was pretty awesome. Was excited for him to step up for the club in that moment. And then you talk about a quick reverse, right? There's frustration around Gorman and missed opportunities early in the game for both Gorman and Walker. I think both of them came up with runners in scoring position tonight and weren't able to step up at least once. But they both step up in the 8th inning with the back-to-back triples, as you mentioned, Joe. And it's refreshing to see both of them continue to hit. Jordan Walker is starting to turn things around in his last 8 games prior to tonight. 320 batting average and 840 OPS. And then tonight he has, I think, 2 more hits. Nolan Gorman, it's good. I think it's probably more than anything relieving for him to see him step up in a moment like that, just because of how brutal it's been at the plate for him. Don't really know what the answer is for him right now. But it's refreshing to see the young guys step up, and it reminds you of how deep this Cardinals lineup is, even on a night where Brendan Donovan, who's been one of the best hitters in the National League to start off the season, isn't in there. That still 6, 7, and 8 are getting it done in this lineup and providing not just insurance, but the go-ahead runs in this one. It once again just proves how deep this lineup is.
Yeah, I just I tweeted the question at Sarah Lang's MLB Stats and ESPN Stats and Info. So see if any I get any kind of response to any of those at some point. Somebody has to be able to go back and dig up that. But that's I haven't looked yet. Maybe you have it in front of you, the exit velocity on the Jordan Walker triple that he hit, because that ball almost went through the wall. That was the Nolan Gorman's triple was due to the ball being dropped and kicked away.
Yep.
Yeah, and while Jordan Walker's triple was one of those where I think that's for Victor Scott, that's an inside the park home run. If he hits a ball and it bounces up back into the field like that off the wall the way it did, that was that too was a really fun one to watch in the moment.
Jordan Walker's exit velo on that was 108.4 miles per hour, which, don't get me wrong, that's pretty damn impressive. But it's no 122. Just to give you an idea, this year Jordan Walker, where does that rank for him? 1, 2. Let's see. That is tied for 13th this year on exit velos for him. So, he's 99th percentile in baseball in exit velo. He hits the ball hard. It's what he does. So, is it the 120s that Vlad Guerrero and O'Neal Cruz are putting up? No, but he's consistently, when he's hitting the ball hard, in the 110 range, the 105 range. It's fun to see him when he gets a hold of it, And I saw a comment just a second ago. It couldn't have been that long ago, from Joseph. Walker is finally hitting mistakes. You know why he's getting mistakes? Because he's laying off of the breaking pitches outside. He's starting to do a better job of that, and as a result, he's getting more of the pitches that kind of tend to be his bread and butter. So if he continues to show that discipline to grow in that sense, he's going to continue to see more mistakes, and that's what the name of the game has been the last 9 or 10 games from Jordan Walker.
Yeah, absolutely. He still has swung at a few of those. He still has.
Absolutely.
He still has, but we are seeing a much better Jordan Walker over the last week than we have seen this year. Charlie chiming in saying he wants to see the other holiday in a Cardinal uniform. Sports Hub STL will be at the MLB draft this year in July. Cardinals have the 5th overall pick. In that, I have not looked at any mock drafts to see if the younger Holiday, I'm drawing a blank on what his name is
Ethan.
at the moment. What's that?
Ethan.
That's I don't know if I don't know if there's a way for him to drop down to number 5.
Zero. Zero.
So yeah,
he's going number 1. He's going number 1.
Matt will just have to buy a house in the Beltway with one son in Baltimore and the other in DC over the for the foreseeable future.
Yes, exactly that.
So Cardinals win tonight 7-4. Ryan Helsley impressive in his save. Only took him 13 pitches, so that was very nice to see out of him. Phil Maton with a shutdown inning too. So just an overall, it was an ugly game. It was a hard watch at times. But it was in the end, the Cardinals come out on top and win 7-4. If you are scoreboard watching like I am and Ethan is not, I will tell you that the Padres are down 6-1 in the second inning to the Marlins right now, and the Giants have already lost to the Tigers. So the Cardinals are currently in a wild card spot in the NL postseason. Yeah, tied with the Giants right now at 31-24. Will be a 3-way tie when the Marlins finish off the Padres sometime later tonight. So again, an all around good evening for the Cardinals, who will get after it again tomorrow and try to win a series from the Orioles in Baltimore before heading down to Texas. That's going to wrap it up for our show today. Brought to you, as always, by our friends at DraftKings. The crown is yours. That DraftKings Pick 6 app is sitting there for you to play around with, whether it's you're going higher or lower on stats in the NBA and the NHL and those playoff games, or you're just looking at all kinds of Cardinals or MLB games throughout. You can sit there and check it out on the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Download it and put in $5 when you are a new customer and play $5. You get $50 in Pick 6 credits when you use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
A lot of fun tonight. Again, another Cardinal victory. We appreciate all of you commenting and joining in on the conversation. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and make sure that you are ready to watch whenever we go live with any of our shows here on Sports Hub STL. He is Ethan Hannaford. I'm Joe Roderick. Talk to you next time right here on Sports Hub STL.